Alright guys, in this video I've decided to talk about something that I've gave some thought to after being here for about 5 years, and that's what things have I noticed that are different, whether good or bad, when dating or in relationships in the Philippines. Stick around. Alright guys, so I'm hanging out here at the coffee shop on a Sunday around 5 p.m. I decided to talk about this topic because I've been giving it some thoughts since I was in quite a long relationship, and now I'm back as a single guy and dating again. And there's some good and some bad differences that I have noticed, and I want to go over some of those with you right now. And one of the things that I've noticed, we're going to start off with dating, because I think the dating and the relationships are pretty similar in a lot of aspects. But one of the things that I've noticed is the tompo thing. Now, a lot of people can look at this as bad, and some people actually look at it as a good thing. I guess it depends on the severity of the tompo. But tompo, for you guys who don't know, is basically the silent treatment. And for me personally, I have come across tompo that's been hours and hours and sometimes even a day of no talking and no discussion about what's the matter. And then I've also discovered tompo where they're just silent for maybe 15 minutes and then they talk to you. And the reason why a lot of Filipinos have told me that they just don't want to say something that they will regret later. They want to calm down, and really they're waiting for you to come to them and maybe give them a hug or apologize or what have you. So if the girl is only giving tompo for 15 minutes, for me, I think it's actually can be a good thing. It just means maybe she's using her head, she's calming herself, she doesn't want to say anything bad. And then the bad, of course, is going to be somebody who's giving you the tompo all day long, which I think is not good. I think it's almost more, I think it's worse than actually yelling and screaming, to be honest. At least with the yelling and screaming, you know what the problem is. But the tompo all day of no talking, that's just too much in my opinion. So that's one thing I've noticed. Now that's whether dating or in relationships, and they will do that even in texting. I've noticed, like all of a sudden they will go cold, and people who are in long distance relationships could even tell you that they'll stop texting you, and it can be because of tompo. It doesn't have to be just in person as well. So that's one thing. The other thing I've noticed is that they like you to make the decision here. One of the most famous things that you will hear a Filipino, whether in dating or in a relationship, is the words, "up to you." And you hear it so much. And they really just want you to discover their likes and their dislikes, and they like you to make the decisions. They really do. Whether it be a trip or whether it be what to eat, they will say, "up to you." And at first, I'll be honest, I actually kind of found it a little bit frustrating, because I really wanted to know, like, what kind of food do you want to go eat? And I have found a way to kind of tackle that problem, and it really is just finding out what the girl likes. You just need to sit down and ask her and say, well, what kind of food do you like? Approach it from that way. What kind of things do you like to do? And then make decisions. And typically, the more comfortable a girl is with you, the longer you're with her, the longer you're dating, the longer you're in a relationship, then she probably will come out and tell you, hey, I'm feeling like pizza tonight, you know. But at the beginning, they do like to say, "up to you," which can be frustrating, but later on it's kind of nice to be the guy who's in charge and making the decisions on things. The one other thing I wanted to mention about tompo is, early on when this happens, it's really up to us to set the rules on it and say, listen, I appreciate you don't want to say something out of anger, and that is fine, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, but all day, I'm just not going to tolerate it. And you just have to set the rules early on that you aren't going to put up with that. And I have found that most of them will adapt and change because they want you to be happy, and that kind of is a segue into the next thing, and that is happiness. I do notice that Filipinas really do try to make you happy, and one way they do that is they can be very clingy, and that's a word that's thrown around here, and clingy can mean a couple of different things. It can mean clingy like they're just on your side, like all over you, hugging, holding hands, or it can also mean that they are smothering you and messaging you nonstop all day long. So there's two different clingies, and so I have discovered that a lot of them do want to make you happy, and I have noticed that in the West that didn't happen so much, that they weren't always trying to find little things to make you happy, like surprises or giving you a massage or maybe cleaning the house or what have you. It was almost like complaining. At least I found that in my past relationships in the West. It was always like, what about me? What are you going to do for me? It was never about, what am I going to do for you? And here in the Philippines, I definitely have noticed a difference, that the girls really do try to make you happy here. And in the West, I had the opposite experience. It was always about me. What are you going to do for me? I want surprises. I want you to take me on trips. I want you to buy me this. I want you to get me that. And here, it's just amazing how you could take them to 100 peso meal and they're happy, to Jollibee's, or you could take them to a higher end restaurant and it's almost just as appreciated as a Jollibee meal, which is kind of hard for us guys to grasp out here, but it's true. So another thing is family, and keeping a family together and also keeping a relationship together. I have noticed that they don't just throw in the towel. In the West, if you have a problem with somebody, this little girl keeps running back and forth, and she wants to be in the video, and congratulations, she's in the video. So, but they really don't want to give up on a relationship. They want to make it work, and they will give a second chance. They will give a third chance, and they just won't give up on a relationship. And in the West, they give up on a relationship quite easy, and I suppose the guys do too. But we just in the West, it seems like you have no value other than monetary, and once that's gone, if you lose your job or something, then the relationship's over. It's what I've discovered, and here I don't find that to be the case. Yes, they want financial stability, but they are much more willing to stick it out and make the relationship work. And that brings me back to the family values, and family just really is everything to them. Family is so important, and that also, a lot of people think of that sometimes as a negative because they're worried that they're going to have to help support the family. But I think of it, if they put in that much effort for their own family, you imagine how much effort they're going to put in for you and the family that you guys create if you decide to do so. So I think the family thing is great. It's a great support system that they have here, and they, the closeness, it makes me envious sometimes. I look at it and I say, I wish my family was that close. And I look back when I was a kid, and we seem to have that at the beginning, but when you start to get older, you lose it. And here they maintain it. But in the West, we don't. Once everybody becomes adults, everybody goes off to different places. They have their own family, their own life. But here, they maintain their family values. They maintain their closeness. And it's something that we could all probably learn something from. And another thing with family is, it always brings me back to parents. And in the West, we are just so quick. Nobody wants to take responsibility. None of the children want to take responsibility for the mom or the dad. They get together and they want to talk about sending them off to a retirement home or an assisted living home. And here, and it's just not something that happens. They take care of the family. They take care of grandma and grandpa. I just met a Filipina not long ago where, you know, she tells me she has 9 siblings, and she said, but this one is our adopted kid. And I was like, well, how did you end up adopting? They said, well, the neighbors were, you know, the guy was a drunk, went to prison. Mom ran off with another guy and left, and we just took the kid in. And even the neighborhood children, they feed. If they have extra rice, they just feed. And in the West, for a kid to come knock on the door and ask for food, would be calling the cops or child services or whatever. And here, it's just amazing how they will just take somebody in, just take in a neighbor. Doors open and let the kids come over and eat. It's just, it's really refreshing. And I think that a lot of guys come out here, and I think that's also a comfort area for us, knowing that when we get older, we're going to be taken care of as well, you know. All right, so the last thing I wanted to touch on is, even though Filipinos don't make a lot of money, they are still more than willing to help out, even if it's with just small things. As something as you know, somebody making $200 a month, and it always surprised me how a girlfriend would bring like a meal, or, you know, surprise me with like a meal, or bring some food, even if it's something as simple as Jollibee. You know, you have to remember they're making $200 or so a month, and she's buying an extra meal. And it always blew me away that they would be willing to do that. And they, in my experience, in my live-in relationships here in the Philippines, they've always been willing to help with something, like buying a little bit of food, or paying maybe the water bill or something. You know, they've always wanted to contribute. And sometimes the only way they can contribute is just by really taking care of the home. You know, I had one girl who would just come over and like immediately just start cleaning, and she would give me a massage, and she would make sure the laundry's done. And it's just, they always are looking to take care of you, and it's just a great feeling. And those are some of the differences that I have noticed in the last 5 years, and things that have cemented my decision in saying that yes, a Filipina is definitely who I would see myself with long term. But those are some of the differences. So guys, if you guys have some differences from Western and women out here, let me know down in the comments. Let me know some of the positives, and if you have a negative. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider sharing it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Take it